Greetings, this is Ty Brown with Athletic Director U, and I'm here with Dr. Brian Wickstrom and Coach Eric Morris. Brian is the Athletics Director at University of the Incarnate Word, and of course, Eric Morris is the football coach. Greetings, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Now, what I want to talk to you about is the coach to athletic director dynamic, which is a very special one because both positions are very visible on campus. And as we all know, athletics is the window to the world at a university. Now, first year head coach, right? You had a successful year at that, but the first time being at the helm, you can pick the brains of the head coaches you work for, but there are definitely things that you don't know that you didn't know, right, as a head coach. Was there anything that was significant over this time as you're coming up on year one as a head coach working for Brian that you actually learned from him that you believe will help you as you continue to develop the culture and build your own program?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is he really encouraged me to not just stay in the football office, is to get on campus and reach out to the facility people, reach out to our faculty on campus, reach out to our president's office, vice president's office, and get to know these people because we're all in this together, and create relationships with those people. And I think, sometimes the difference, in academics and athletics on a campus, you never want that to get crossways. I mean, and that's something that gets lost in translation. So he really encouraged me when I first got there to not ever forget that and to go over and form good relationships with these people on campus. And there, at our first game, I look up in the stands and the majority of all those people are up there cheering us on, and we have a great thing going on at UIW. So that's the first thing that he kind of encouraged me to do. And looking back on it a year later, it was great advice.
And that'll probably stick with you for the rest of your career.
Absolutely.
Actually. Right.
Absolutely.
First question I have for you, Brian, is as an AD, you've been at multiple locations leading the athletics program. You've been in athletics for 21 years, so you've seen a lot of leadership. You've seen a lot of communication styles. You've seen a lot of relationships between athletic directors and coaches. What has been your method for developing the relationships with the coaches on your staff? Obviously, you supervise them and they work for you, but beyond that, the relationship part, how do you develop that?
Well, I've been very fortunate to work for a lot of great bosses. Mike Alden at the University of Missouri was the first athletic director I really worked closely with. Chancellor White, who was my boss in California. And then I worked with great football coaches like Lloyd Carr at Michigan, Gary Pinkel at Missouri. And for me, I learned a lot from the relationship. You learn some good things to do and some things that maybe you want to do differently. And my role as athletic director is to try and support the football coach, get to know them on a personal level. But I've never been a coach except for my kids' elementary school basketball team. I've never won a game. I've never lost a game. So I try to provide support to help them excel as a coach and deliver a great student-athlete experience. So I don't go watch every practice. I don't go and sit down and ask for the game plan. I pop by, ask if they need something, how things are going, check on how the season's going. But I just want to be there to support them and let them be a great coach.
Let them know that through the relationship you have. I guess the question for you is, in the years since you've been coaching, did you ever get exposed to the head coach, athletic director dynamic from the staff that you worked on?
Not really exposed hands-on, but I've seen two really good ones work with my previous head coaches. So first job was at Washington State. We had Bill Moose there, which is an incredible athletic director. He's a true football guy. He played for a long time and was from Washington State. But he was hands-on, loved football, and did a great job of providing us with everything we needed. And just with my relationship with Mike Leach, he recruited me. He was my coach in college, and then he gave me my first opportunity to be a full-time coach at this level. And so, he always told me when I did get this job that dynamic is really important. That anytime it gets crossways, it can lead to some nasty things. And then I was blessed too to be around Kirby Holcutt and Cliff Kingsbury. And, Kirby's a really visible guy after the playoff committee. And Kirby's extremely professional. So never was I in those closed door meetings, but I could tell that there was great communication, which I think is key in any kind of business. And so, I wasn't in those meetings, but I saw it from afar.
You saw a lot. And both of you have just named some elephants in the profession, right, that you work for. You mentioned Mike Alden. I mean, there's so many people have become athletic directors off this. Right, exactly. And relationships. And I don't know if he remember your name all the time, but you can tell he knew who you were if he met you one time type thing. You mentioned Kirby Holcutt and working for Mike Leach and working for Cliff, who's a successful coach. You guys probably around the same age. It's funny.
He's a little bit older. He's about 4 or 5 years older.
Okay,
yeah.
But working for those leaders who have accomplished a lot and understand what it means to be in a relationship with the people you work for and work with. Was there anything that you picked up throughout your path that you use now in the relationship we have here at Incarnate Word, UIW?
You want to go? Go ahead. For me, it's about understanding that we're both trying to make the school and the program better. We're going to have differences of opinions. It's about being able to communicate and understand what's a priority so that I can help him, but he also understands that we're not going to be able to do everything he wants right now. It may take time. And I think the whole key is communication. And I think really is building trust from the coach to me, understanding that I'm working my tail off to help him with the program. And I think that's helped our relationship because he knows, I'll do whatever I can to help him get there. And it's just a matter of showing them and having some results actually.
Right.
I think everybody has a responsibility, and his responsibility is definitely different than mine. And everybody needs to understand that and work together and get everybody moving in the same direction, because you can't have people pulling different ways within a department and expect to be super successful. And so, I saw that and I've seen it, with Bill Moose and Mike Leach. I mean, they worried about controlling what they control, and they didn't worry about doing each other's jobs. They trusted one another. I think trust is a huge factor with an athletic director. I mean, Brian has earned my respect and trust each and every day. I mean, we have a great relationship. We text message each other, pretty much every single day, both on a personal level and on a business level. And we have a great working relationship. So I think if you don't cross those lines and you understand that these two positions have different purposes, and if these guys are really good at their job and they control what they control in their profession, then you're going to be successful.
I do wonder about communication style, right? I mean, you mentioned texting. Everybody communicates a bit different. And I imagine that during the season, communication probably changes for you as you get busy, whereas your communication is pretty consistent throughout the year because in the role you're in. How long did it take you, and I'll ask you this first, and the question is slightly different for you, but how long did it take you to learn and understand Brian's communication style and how he liked to receive input or feedback from whatever he has sent to you or talked to you about?
Right, and this might surprise you a little bit, but I'm a millennial. I mean, I'm 33 years old, but I'm more of a face-to-face guy. If there's anything important that I ever need to talk to Brian about, I think he'll be the first to tell you that I'm going to walk across the street and I'm going to come in his office and we're going to look each other in the eye and we're going to talk about it openly. And, I think that we have that trust for one another, that we're not going to hide anything and we're going to be open about everything. And so my method, if something's super important and it's something that I think we need to get done, then I'll walk over and talk to him. But I think when I first got here, he coming from a Power 5 job, he probably thought I was going to be a diva. But my dad's a high school coach. My mom's a public educator. I don't mind getting my hands dirty and working on things. And so I don't ask for too much, I don't think. But no, he probably likes texting more than I do. I'm more of a face-to-face guy. But we have open lines at all times.
Right. Excellent. And Brian, for you, similar question, but slightly different. You have been at places where there were already head coaches in place. You've hired head coaches. You've had to move on from head coaches. What is your method of learning their style, but also keeping with the style you're already in as their quote unquote supervisor?
For me, it's about it's about going by and talking in their office, not getting in the way of practice. Whenever I started, every school I've been at where I started as athletic director, I have met with every head coach for 30 minutes right when I get there just to start the dialogue. But for the coaches that have been in place that I've worked at the schools, I go down and visit with them before practice. I don't necessarily watch their practice. We always do a follow-up evaluation at the end of the season to let them know, find out what their goals are for the next year, how their goals were this year, and just to talk to them about, what their experience was. And they're, as you know, coaches have totally different personalities, and I have to tweak my personality a little bit to accommodate them because I'm there to support the coaches, but it's just learning their system. But it's all about, I think if you talk to the coaches that I've worked with that have been there, even some of the coaches I've had to fire are still my friends because of open communication. They know what the expectations are before the season starts. If they don't meet expectations, they know that they probably are going to move on. But it's about communication and them seeing that I'm trying to do everything I can to help them be successful.
I'd imagine that the continuous communication that you two have allows for constant evaluation, right? We're not waiting till the end of the semester or the end of the year to annual review, but constant evaluation lets you know where you are and how you are being evaluated and what you expect of him and really what you expect of the athletic director. It's probably a good thing.
No doubt. Always trying to get better. And I think professional development's a huge thing, especially this day and age. I think, you can't get stuck in your ways. So having that open communication and learning from your mistakes. I made a ton of mistakes my first year as a head coach. And I'm open about them, but always writing stuff down, trying to learn and how I can get better in the future.
What I do wonder is, has there been, as a leader of your program and as a leader of the department, has there been a difference in opinion in terms of something you might have wanted to do or thought you should do or get the athletics department to back or something, and something you might have thought in a different direction? How have you, in year one, reconciled where you guys had a different opinion? Go on ahead.
He asked me why I went for it on 4th and 4 one time, And I said, well, we've been pretty good on 4th down this year, but I can't think of anything monumental so far.
No, and to be honest with you, I know that coaches push a lot because they want to make their program better. And I will tell you, when I hired Eric Morris from Texas Tech, I thought I was going to get a Power 5 guy that was going to ask for everything every day. Nothing was going to be good enough. And I think he's asked for things to make the student-athlete experience better, to travel better for maybe a different hotel plan or for something, or change of travel plan. But he also understands that we're going to operate within our means and the revenues are going to be there to support what he does. And if we can do it, we're going to do it. If not, he understands. He's more like an old-time football coach because he does worry about coaching more than he does about some of the high-maintenance issues. But he still asks for the things to help make the student-athlete experience better. And he gives me insight in what would be helpful to help him on the recruiting trail. We need a new facility here. Can we get this expanded? Can we do this? Things that would help him make the student-athlete experience better for the duration of Incarnate Word.
Again, this is Ty Brown with Athletic Director U, and I'm here with Dr. Brian Wickstrom and Coach Eric Morris, the Athletic Director and Head Football Coach at University of the Incarnate Word. Picking up on what you just mentioned, a good friend of mine has been an athletic director at Division III institutions, and she's worked at a number of different institutions. And coaches are always asking for more, right? Like you said, they always want more for the student-athlete experience, for the program. How do you balance that? Because he's going to keep asking. Anybody that wants to do well at something is going to ask for the things you need to be well, right? This is what I need to be successful. How do you balance that with A, athletic department needs and other programs, and then B, the institutional resources, right? And I ask that question, meaning from coach to athletic director, even athletic director back to coach, or you with your supervisor and the president there at UIW, how do you balance those requests and what you think is necessary? And obviously he's going to ask for what he thinks.
Sure. I've been fortunate because I have a great staff, but the 3 sitting AD jobs that I've had, I've made the commitment to the chancellor or president when I got there that if they would just maintain the level of institutional funding that we have when I get the job, we'll only grow our program by the revenues we generate ourselves. So we've generated a lot more money at the 3 schools I've been at, which have allowed me to fund different things. For example, Incarnate Word, we pay cost of attendance for football. We put a brand new football field down, baseball, softball field, and a new basketball court where we're generating the money. So if I tell the coaches that I've made the commitment to the university leadership that we're only going to grow by the stuff we generate, Eric will go do any commercial, he'll go to any public speaking engagement we ask him to. our basketball coach would do the same thing. So our coaches know that if they help me generate revenue, they help us get people engaged in the annual fund or major gifts. That's how we're going to grow. And then they ask you if we're transparent about here's our budget, here's what we have to work with. Then I think that they know I'm being truthful and they'll help us generate money to get more stuff. And that's it. I mean, I've made a commitment everywhere I've been that we'll only grow if we generate ourselves. And I think the coaches understand that I'm fighting for them every way I can. And it's worked out well.
Which is interesting. And over to you, Coach. Along those lines, he talked about generating revenue. He talked about fundraising, which if you said you were exposed a little bit to the coach AD dynamic, but you probably were not exposed to fundraising and development in athletics. How have you had to learn how that aspect works? What has been your process for learning how it works? And then I'll throw it back to you with how have you exposed them to that process?
Yeah, I mean, when we first got here, obviously we hit the ground recruiting and trying to put my staff together, and I didn't have a ton of time to do that early. But in the spring, when I really dove into the budget and saw what we had and kind of broke down and saw these things that we needed to make the experience better for our student athletes, for summer school funding, to, do the nutrition program the way I wanted it, all those things. We needed a little bit of extra money. And so I asked for his advice because my expertise is not in fundraising and his is. And, I enjoy calling football plays and winning games on Saturdays. But so reaching out to him, we put together a couple fundraising events. And like he said, made myself available at any time. That way we could go out into a great city like San Antonio. There's plenty of money to go around in a city like this. And we had events. We had golf tournaments, we had banquets, we had raffles, we did all kinds of things to help us raise money and get the things that we needed. So yeah, I've kind of got to start stepping into it slowly and figuring out that that's a big part of what I do, and it's going to help us. It's becoming an arms race in college football. The contracts and the buildings that everybody's building is the numbers are getting astronomical, and it's kind of the haves and the have-nots. And so yeah, we want the best, Brian and I, for our students, and so we'll continue to work that.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you that I've learned, like, when I go talk to a donor and make an ask for a major gift for a facility or for money for the program, they really don't care about the athletic director. They want to hear from the coach. So whenever I have a major ask or a major project, I take the head coach who can talk about the football program, talk about the basketball program, because they don't care about me. They want to talk about how they win games. What do you need to win games? I had the best learning experience with Todd Berry and I at ULM when they hadn't built a new facility in 20 years. And Todd Berry got in the car with me and drove hundreds of miles, raising money to build their football facility. And that's when I really learned that, you know what? When you're with these donors, they don't care about the athletic director. They want to hear about the football coach. They want to hear from the basketball coach. They want to talk about how is this going to help you win games. For me, that's why for me, I'm really, really communicative and inclusive of our coaches, because without a coach, I'm not raising a dime. They want to talk to the coaches about what we're doing, how this is going to help. And that's really how I've been successful over the years is working on behalf of the student athletes with a coach by my side.
So someone like Coach Morris here, young coach, first-time head coach, was there a kind of for lack of a better word, a tutoring process? Like, all right, we're going to go in and talk to these guys. Here's how I want it, kind of thing. How did you handle that?
A little bit about just laying out a script a little bit. But to be honest with you, the first luncheon I took him to, he just talks football. He talks football and talks about needs, and he's very personable. And I remember we went to the Petroleum Club. I think it was the first lunch we ever went to, where I introduced him to a former Texas Tech guy who's now a donor for us. And he's himself. And he talks about the program, talks about the vision, and he helps me sell the vision for the football program in the university.
Right. Well, I ask one final question each for you guys. First with you, Coach Morris. As a first-time head coach, right? You're developing a relationship with Brian here. You're learning how to run your own program. You're creating culture. If you were talking to a room full of assistants who all had aspirations to be a head coach, right? Whatever level they are, different levels of leadership maturity, different position levels, what advice would you give them relative to the relationship with an athletic director? And is there anything they could do at the position they are in to develop a relationship with the athletic director if the head coach allowed, of course?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, because usually there's a good reason why they hired you. They already like you. You've been through the interview process. So being yourself is something that's really important to me. You know, just being raised by my father the way I was, him being an old school basketball coach. I mean, always teaching you to be yourself, and there's a reason you are where you are right now. And so don't start trying to sway and get away from that, because people liked you in the first place, and you're meant to be a leader. You've been really successful to get you thus far. So I think when you get there, I think some people try to change and you know, kind of forget who their friends are, or how to treat people with respect, and how to communicate on all types of different levels, how to come to agreements on certain things, because everything I asked for, like he said, he wasn't able to give me, even though I know he was going to bat for me with our administration. And so it's always a give-take relationship, and especially, you know, when he's my boss, and then he knows at the same time that, you know, I control, you know, a big portion of all the assistant coaches, the students that are there on campus. And so each of our jobs are equally as important. And just like anything else in this world, great communication, working together, a little give-take here and there, I think goes a long way.
I agree. And Brian, in terms of you, if you were talking to a room, you have a bigger room, right? If you're talking to a room of young administrators, or even administrators who are rising that could potentially be athletic directors, but they joined the room that had the assistant coaches and coordinators in it, what advice would you give them on, the coach and athletic director dynamic, working their way to become a head coach, right? And or working their way to become an athletics director?
I think the number one thing is to learn to listen and learn. I mean, you got to soak up everything you can. Like, I see the assistants on Eric's staff that aspire to be head coaches. I mean, there's a lot to learn. I mean, there's stuff that Eric didn't know that he learned as a head coach. And so, you know, Richard Dran, who's my deputy AD, who's been with me at 3 schools now, every school he's been at, he's learning different things. I think the number one key to being a successful head coach and being an athletic director, I think, is soaking it up, learning. You're going to make mistakes, and learn and listen. You know, ask a lot of questions and listen so you can learn. I think if you do that, you're going to be a great head football coach. You'll be a great athletic director.
Right. Excellent information. Well, gentlemen, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on Athletic Director U.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Appreciate you.
That was Dr. Brian Wickstrom and Eric Morris. Eric being the head football coach and Dr. Wickstrom being the director of athletics, and they're both at University of the Incarnate Word. Again, this is Ty Brown with Athletic Director U. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today.